Okay, for tonight's dinner, this was a special request by Debbie Blocker, a friend of mine from up in the Naperville, Oswego area. She had requested that I do a healthy version of a chicken curry. So that's what we're going to do tonight, Debbie. So this is for you. And what I have, I'll go over first what I have here, and then we'll kind of start through the process. But I've got 1 onion that I have diced up. I have 3 cloves of garlic that I used my garlic press and kind of just minced those up. I also, for my seasonings, I have mixed them all together here already, but I have a tablespoon of fresh ginger or powdered ginger, if you have that instead, a teaspoon of cinnamon, a tablespoon of turmeric, a teaspoon of cumin, ground cumin, and a teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, a half a teaspoon of fine celery salt, and that's all here in our seasonings. Then in this dish, for thickening of the sauce, I have 2 tablespoons of arrowroot flour. Then we're going to use 2 cups of a chicken bone broth. Now you can buy the chicken bone broth already prepared in a container, the can, or in a cardboard container. I also found this Beyond Bone broth that is a powder that I mix a scoop with like a cup of hot water, and I really liked having this because that way I can just mix up whatever I want and I don't have to worry about having any left over. And then I also have 2 cups of full fat coconut milk, and 1 13.5 fluid ounce can gives you almost, it's 3/4 of a cup, but almost a cup of coconut milk. And so we're going to go with that. Now, what I've done is I've taken my chicken. We're going to start it. I've taken my chicken. I'm using chicken thighs. Why? Because I like chicken thighs, but you can use the breast if you want. It's probably 1 package of thighs. I'm not sure if it was even quite a pound, but I cut it up. As you can see, I've cut it up into little bite-sized pieces. And then I tossed it with some of the borsari seasoning, or just salt and pepper, and a little bit of flour just to put a little coating on it. Then I'm going to put it in my skillet. My avocado oil should have already been hot, but it cooled off a little on me, so we'll get it going a little bit here. You'll be able to hear it start to sizzle, but used probably about a tablespoon or 2 of avocado oil. I'm going to put just a touch more in it. Here's the avocado oil. One reason I like using avocado oil, I'll also use olive oil. We use a lot of olive oil, but I like the avocado oil too because you get a higher, you can cook with a higher heat. You get a higher, what they call smoke point, in using an avocado oil. Now, can you use canola oil, vegetable oil? Yes, you can. I just happen to not cook with those. I tend to stay with olive oil, a rice bran oil, or an avocado oil or a coconut oil, just for health purposes. Okay, so we've got this beginning to brown here. And I'm going to kind of let that just cook, and then we'll start on our sauce. All right, well, I've browned the chicken. Another reason why I kind of like to put a little light dusting of flour on the chicken, and I use the gluten-free flour, is so that I get kind of a nice brown on it. And I'm going to keep the pan right here because we're going to heat up our cauliflower rice in just a few minutes, which I've taken here 1 head, a small head of cauliflower, and I used my food processor to make it up into rice. You can also buy cauliflower rice in the freezer section already done up. I also went ahead and put my onions, and I cooked those in probably in about a tablespoon of the avocado oil. And I don't really measure this out. I just kind of go around the pan a couple of times just to get some oil in the bottom of the pan instead of measuring it out. And it usually comes out to about a tablespoon or two. But I put the onions in and let them cook so they started getting translucent. That took about 2 minutes. And then I added the garlic to that, and I cooked that for about a minute. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add everything else. I'm going to put in my spices, and we'll just kind of let them toast around. And while that's doing that, you could definitely use regular rice, white rice or brown rice if you wanted to. Debbie wanted me to do it with cauliflower rice, and that's what I would have done anyway, just to have a little bit more health benefit from it. Instead of chicken, you could also use shrimp if you wanted to. Okay, those are gonna kind of toast around. I'm going to add in my chicken broth. Probably need to turn my fire up a little bit here. We want kind of a medium high. And I want that to come, we'll get that to kind of come to a boil, and we're going to add the coconut milk then. When I get this all coming to a boil, we'll add the coconut milk, and then I'll turn it down to a simmer for about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll add in the arrowroot to thicken it up. We'll put the cauliflower rice in the same pan that I had the chicken in. I may add just a touch more of the oil, and we'll just heat it up. That's all you have to do to it, is heat it. But I want a little bit of you can see some of the little brown bits from cooking the chicken or the shrimp. So that'll add a little bit nice flavor to that. Okay, I'm now going to go ahead. I know it's not coming to a boil yet, but it's getting there. I don't want to cool it down too much yet. So I'm going to add my coconut milk in. This already smells really nice. Great aroma from the spices and from the coconut milk. And you may be asking, well, do I have to use coconut milk? No, you could use regular milk. You could use cream. I just happen to like cooking with coconut milk. And again, Debbie wanted me to do it with coconut milk. So I'm making this for her. And I'm going to, while this is coming to a boil, I'm going to reheat my pan that I had the chicken in to about a medium high heat. You know what? I am not going to add any more oil to this. I think this looks pretty good. And I'm just going to go ahead and add in my cauliflower rice. And I just want this to actually, oops. It is a little bit messy using the coconut or the cauliflower rice, but I'm going to scrape up the little bits. If you can hear that, I'm scraping up a few of the little bits off the pan. And I'm just going to let this heat. And I'll be right back with you. All right, my broth here is all bubbling. And I'm going to start adding in the arrowroot, and I'm going to whisk it in so as my little lumps try to start to form, I can whisk those out. Arrowroot's a nice alternative to using cornstarch if you don't want to use a corn-based product. You don't want to use flour. You can definitely use arrowroot. The heat's making it stay. Okay, I need my cameraman's help here. The heat is making it stick in my little bowl. All right, I think we got most of it out there. And whisk it around. It's already starting to get thick. And while I'm doing this, let me tell you, On the rice, what I did was, since I think cauliflower rice is pretty tasteless, I added about a tablespoon of the turmeric because I wanted to tie in the flavors and get a little bit more curry flavor. And turmeric is a good replacement for actually doing, using a curry. And I added a little of the borsari, but you could definitely just use salt and pepper and give it a nice flavor. And it's heated very nicely. I'm gonna whisk a little bit to break up some of my lumps. I could have also added a little of the broth to the arrowroot and made a slurry, which is what I should have done, and poured that in, and then that way you definitely are not going to get any lumps. But I'm going to let this cook up and get thick, and then I'll show you how we're going to put it together. Well, now we're ready to assemble. So I'm going to put some of the cauliflower rice in the bottom of the bowl. Get my tongs. I didn't have everything here together that I wanted. We'll place some of the chicken. You could also add your meat to your curry broth if you wanted, but I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to add some of the meat in. And now I'm going to add the broth. And I went ahead and added maybe a couple of little pinches of salt, and I added a couple of pinches of cilantro to the broth just to get a little bit more seasoning in it. And then just however much broth you want to ladle over. And I'm going to finish off with some fresh chive out of my garden. Okay, there you have it. So chicken coconut curry with cauliflower rice, and I would say that took maybe 30 minutes. If you want to add in the time to pull your seasonings and stuff together, it was definitely 45 minutes. I don't think it was any longer than that. So, bon appetito.